Welcome
Hi.
everyone. We are live and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you're from. Welcome to Conversations with Karuna, and we're back again another Thursday with another conversation with an amazing, lively person. One of my when I started talking to David is Nair is the person who will be on the show today. He is a founder of IXL Incorporated, a self-development company, supports training and coaching. He's also an author and also a coach himself. So when I started interacting with David, all of these conversations were so much of fun, and he would have so many amazing stories to tell me that I was so inspired by the interesting experiences that he had to talk about. So here we have David, and we will be talking to him about his life journey and how can someone wire yourself for success.
Hi, guys. A very, very good evening, or I should say from Australia down under, it's good night. It's great to come online. Thank you so much for having me, Karuna. One of the key things I find is the pleasure. I love to be on stage, and I love to talk to people. Being a storyteller, being a yarn developer, as they say in Australia, one of the key things I look at is where are people going in life? And the reason why I hone in on that so early in the piece is 95% of the population, unfortunately or fortunately, drift through life because the purpose is not defined. I'll be talking about that shortly, a little bit downstream. But what got me into this industry is vital for you to know, and where I am in respect to my journey. That's what you want. I am not the person I am today. At the age of 14, I got kicked out of home. And I mean literally kicked out of home. Now, most will be wondering, oh my God, what happened to this guy? Hey, my parents did it out of the goodness of their heart. They sent me to a place called Brisbane, Australia to study. Primarily because I was so shy, I could not say boo to anybody outside of my mom and dad and my brother and sister. That's how shy I was. There is a saying in South India, because I live in South India quite a bit whenever I come to India and then travel from there to the other locations. There's a saying in South India, I used to hang behind my mother's pavada, meaning petticoat. That's how shy I was, guys. Now, if a shy guy like that can be transformed using some of the tools and techniques of rewiring yourself, I'll come and explain success later. If a guy like that can rewire himself to be in a position where about 6 years ago, I addressed an open-air stadium of 40,000 people.
Wow, that's amazing.
What made the transformation? It wasn't any scientific channeled methodology. All it was this thing inside of me. I had to get it right. And I had a lot of people who got me to do that. I had 14 coaches on my journey to where I am today. Guys, 14. Let me count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Wow.
14 of them. That's how stupid I was. But I tell you what, stupid people get paid very well.
So true. So David, we're all excited to listen to all your concepts of how we can wire ourselves to success with amazing stuff that you have to talk to us, stories that you have to tell us. So let's start with your life. Let's start with your life journey. Tell us more about that.
Very simple. At 14 and a half in Brisbane, Australia, this is what happened. I didn't transform because I moved from one location to another. What actually happened was I was still sitting in the in the college, private college, sucking my thumb and hoping for transformation to take place. Until one day, one of the teachers came up to me, hit me on the back, and said to me, "Hey, doing what you're doing is not going to get you anywhere in life." I said, "What do you mean?" 14 and a half, 15. And he said, "I want you to go and meet people. Now, I'm going to ask you ladies and gentlemen, this simple question. How many of you were taught to go and meet people? Huh? Nobody. I wasn't. Until I asked the question, how? See, most of us don't know what questions to ask. That's how basic it is. So when this guy taught me how to meet people, I went and met some of the families that used to come on the weekends to take the children. I befriended one of those. He became my adopted father. He's my coach and my first coach. I refer to as Uncle John. Uncle John, I'm going to accelerate this very fast for time factor. Uncle John taught me at the age of 14 and a half, within a year, to start my own business, to start investing. Every time when I went home to his place, every weekend, he would be talking at the dining room table about businesses, about what he did in his work. And he was sharing this with his family. I never had that. Not that my parents were depriving me of anything. That was not the culture in our home. But the culture in this particular home was to share. And so he was sharing business practices. So at the age of 15, I had in my head, I need to invest. What happens when you associate with certain types of people? That's what happens. You get sponged into it. So at the age of 15 and I think 2 months or 3 months, I plucked up enough courage. By now I could talk to people. And I went to the bank managers in one of the banks and knocked on the door. And the guy comes out to me and said, "How can I help you, son?" He calls me son, okay, this bank manager. And I said, "I want to talk to the bank manager. I'm 15 years and 3 months. And he said, "Come on in." Takes me into the sits me down. As he leaves me, he asks me, "Can I get you a glass of milk?" You see how naive I am, okay? I was so frightened to even say yes because I didn't have any money. I thought I had to pay for the milk. The guy was offering me a glass of milk and I was so naive. Guys, this is where I'm bringing in my second concept of education that most of us miss out on, called exposure. Our mainstream education only gives us X amount of information. Our second mainstream of information, called exposure, today it's out there in the world, gives us a lot more. Wait till I come downstream to give you the third. Now, what happened to me was, he said to me very simply, "How can I help you, son?" And I said, "I want to borrow some money." And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, really? That's good. What do you want the money for?" And I told him, at 15 years and 2 months, I want to buy a house. He leaned back and he said, "Wow, that's good. That's good." And he said, "Do you have an account with us?" I said, "No." Next question. "Do you have a job?" I said, "No." Next question. "Do you have a deposit?" I said, "No." Next question. "How do you expect to borrow money from us?" And he said, "I just thought the bank will lend money." He said, "Yes, we lend money." And his next question to me is, "How do you expect to pay it back?" And my response stunned him. Do I have to pay it back? Do you understand what I'm saying? This is true story, guys. How many of you went through that? You see, when that happened to me, I did not know where to go. He said, "Yes, you have to pay it back, son. It is not free." So he said, "Go back home, tell your mom and dad what you're trying to do, and get them to advise you what needs to be done." So I went back home, told Uncle John. He said, "Wait, I'm going to teach you. You want to buy a house?" I said, "Yes. I'm going to teach you how to buy a house. I'm going to teach you how to be a property investor." Guys, I started my first business by the age of 18 and a half. I bought my first home. By the age of 20, I sold that home and made $250,000 out of that. By the age of 24, I bought my second property, 4 properties, 6 properties, 8 properties. By the age of 33, I was able to retire from financially being independent. That's not to boast. That's what happened. Now, why? Because this guy had the guts. G-U-T-S. That's how I spell guts. The genuine urge to succeed. Guts. You need to have that in your belly. Sitting where you're sitting, whoever it is, I'm very strong and forthright as a coach. Because if you're mollycoddling people, they don't move. You need to put a bomb under them. So my words are basically linguistically trained by John Grinder, the founder of NLP. So I use power pack words for people to click in. So, ladies and gentlemen, sitting where you're sitting and hope to change is not going to happen. Get out of your butt and start doing something. 2021 is going to be the year for you. If you want to do something, get up and do it.